send them again.
Okay,
That's
good.
fine.
Maybe I'll leave you in charge of Egyptian links.
Okay.
But I should let's try to save them too. Okay, I'm gonna start with what I need just to get going.
Sounds like a winner.
Yep. She.
She.
Ha'u.
Ha'u.
Petei.
Petei.
Uva.
Uva.
I eat a fruit. Alright.
She. Ha'u.
She. Ha'u. Yo como. Vos sos un niño. De.
De.
What's the verb? Ha'e.
Ha'e.
Petei.
Petei. Mitai.
Mitai. De ha'e. Petei. Mitai.
Ho'u piko PTI ua.
Ho'u piko petei uva.
Uva.
Whoa, what's up there? Pico, the question marker.
Ho'u piko PTI ua.
Se come una fruta. Vos sos una niña. Let's see. Vos sos. De.
De.
E.
Ha'e.
Petei.
Petei.
Mita kuñai.
Mita kuñai.
Kuñai.
Komita kuñai. Hape mitai. Mita. Ha. Mitai.
Ko mita kuñai. Hape mitai.
Komita kuñai. Hape mitai.
Un niño come fruta. Petei.
Petei. Mitai.
Ha'u. Ho'u. Ho'u.
Ho'u.
Uva.
Uva.
Uva. Ko mita ho'u uva. What's this? Ko is
Ko.
Este niño come fruta.
De ha'e. Petei. Mita kuñai.
Mita kuñai.
Mita kuñai.
Mita kuñai.
Petei mita. Ho'u petei uva.
Petei mita ho'u petei uva. One youth.
Mita.
Niño. Un niño. Y. Oh, come. Petei uva. Una fruta. Okay, almost done. One or two more. Se come. Pico. Ha'u. Ho'u. Petei uva. Ho'u pico petei uva. Okay, looks like the question marker pico goes in position 2 in the clause. Ho'u pico. Ho'u pico petei uva. Alright, there we go. So, what's the first link that we'll look at? Welcome back to Lango Institute. I'm your VerbAlly, doing some Guarani there, and now we're going to turn to Egyptian. What are those noises that keep coming? Any idea? Are you there, Levi? Mute, invite. What's going on? Sent an invite but invalid.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm back.
okay.
Sorry,
Okay,
my
good.
internet was acting up.
I see. So what shall we start with today? I think we had broken into lesson 2 on that main one we were doing. Should we continue with that?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, nice haircut, by the way.
Thank you. Smoothened my head a little bit. So, do you have the link for that one handy? Or maybe tell me, what's the name of the website? This will probably remember.
It's called EgyptianHieroglyphs.net.
.net. There it is first. Thank you.
But there's the link, because sometimes the lessons, there's a start lessons button, and sometimes that does not work. So that's why I sent the link.
I see. Okay. Well, let's see how we do here. Nouns can describe both tangible and intangible things. Bookman Amun. Love, desire, justice. In Middle Egyptian, there are 2 terms that we use to describe nouns: gender and number. All right. Gender, either feminine or masculine. Number, either singular, dual, plural, or dual. That's how all the cool kids were doing it thousands of years ago. The best method to determine whether a noun is feminine or masculine is to look for the T hieroglyph, loaf of bread. So these phonetic ones too, not phonetic, but I should say single consonant signs. What's the word? Uniconsonantal?
Uniliteral.
Uniliteral. Those will have those lookup numbers too, right? Is the Gardner?
I believe so.
So let's take a look. I want to make sure I'm able to find them without too much difficulty. And we saw that on Wikipedia, didn't you have to follow a link and then you...
Let me get the Wikipedia link. Okay.
Egypt. What Egyptian language, right? Uniliteral. Where was that chart of the uniliteral signs?
Which chart?
I
sent one on Wikipedia in the chat.
Which chat? This chat, Wikipedia. Okay, good. 24 consonant phonemes, at least. 1 hieroglyph with a phonetic value corresponding to each. Okay. This is the chart I had in mind, yeah. Alrighty, good. So that T1...
doesn't seem to have the Gardner number.
Right, though. That's right. At least, yeah, we noted that last time. But then it was like if you follow up, if you click a link, it seemed like we were able to find it. Bread loaf. Okay, it's a little hard to read that magnification. Are these in any particular order? Do you know if this order is standard?
What do you mean?
In this chart.
Numbers?
Oh, yeah. Let me bring it up to the window that's shared, this tab. So this chart here, is this a traditional order of the consonant phonemes?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, that's good.
I don't know, they had a song or anything.
Yeah, right.
But all the resources seem to be in this order.
So, okay, now look, if we just float with the cursor over the over whatever's linked, where there is one. So for the basket with handle for K, there is no link. There's no hyperlink. But for bread loaf, it tells me Gardner U33. So over here on Lexilogos, if I go to egg Egyptian, I want U33. Okay, and it's a different one. What's going on? Oh, wait. The hieroglyph, the T phoneme represents a bread bun. A later alternative T was Gardner U33. Okay, that's referring to a different character. That's why they don't look alike.
Oh, this is Gardner X1, it says.
All right, where does it say that?
The Egyptian hieroglyph for the T phoneme, Gardner X1,
Where
represents bread bun, a later alternative. On the
Hold on.
Wikipedia?
Where on Wikipedia? Where?
Okay, click the bread loaf thing where you just
The
were.
hyperlink?
Yep.
And then the settings?
The hyperlink that said
Oh, just click on it and open it?
bread loaf. Yeah.
There we go.
Remember where you
Okay.
just read a letter alternative?
I got it. Yeah.
So it says.
Okay, you got to click and follow the link. So for the ones like the
Mhm.
K that don't have a link, what to do? Basket handle.
I'm not sure exactly. Some of them, if they're like really obvious, you can figure out what the letter is. Like a bird would definitely go into whatever letters for bird. I sent you the other day something. I don't have the link for it offhand, but it was like a dictionary that was in French that had all of the Gardner numbers.
All right. Okay, so the T hieroglyph, that's where we left off. When a T is at the end of a word, it usually signals that the gender of the word is feminine. There are exceptions, however few and far between. The following chart lists the masculine and feminine endings for nouns. All right, singular, masculine, not, feminine, T. Plural, a w for masculine and wit. And then dual, oh, how interesting. A we, 2 letters, and okay, that the 2 slashes, that's an abbreviation of the double read sign, isn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. TY. All right, so Y consonant signals dual. W masculine non-singular, more or less. Now let's look at a few examples to see these endings in action. The hieroglyph for brother is sen. And I feel like if I'm going to devote serious attention to this, then I want to know how these words developed in sound over time.
Oh, how their real pronunciations are?
Well, the reconstructed. We can't know the real one, but the reconstructed one. Now that doesn't pull up anything. When I tried to look that up in Wiktionary, this sun sequence, no luck.
Try just the first glyph. The little man there is just a determinative.
Yes. All right, will do. And it doesn't stack them the same way. Doesn't look like that worked. So, okay, so that first one is an S1. T hieroglyph. And
I don't think Wiktionary has that many hieroglyphics on it seems.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Huh. Gardener. Oh, in Unicode, the block Egyptian hieroglyphs includes 1,071 signs, organization based on Gardner's list. And there's a proposal. Unilateral signs, there's a list of those. Is that the same as this? Unilateral sign? Yeah, same thing. I've already got it open. Oh, but there's more that you can expand to that chart, looks like. Oh, look at this. Transcription characters in Unicode. That's not too interesting, actually. But this, conventional transliteration schemes. S. Where is the S that looks like a downward arrow? Maybe that's a biliteral one, and the N is just spelled out sort of redundantly.
So
let's go to SN in this list. Yeah, I just feel like if I just read these things over and don't have some way. Here we go. SN, you see it? T22.
Okay.
If I don't have some way to look it up, it's just all going to disappear so fast. And let's find that N one. And is this... Okay, yeah, here it mentions the alphabetical order. 24 consonant phonemes, following Adel, 55, transliterated and ordered alphabetically in the sequence. Maybe glottal stop for that first one. The vulture. J, Ein, W, B, P, F, so labials all together, and M. N, R, and the 4 H's, and then some fricatives, Z, S, Esh, some dorsals, K, K, G, and some dentals. Okay, that's a nice way to order them. Alrighty. So the sen word for brother. There is no ending attached to the noun, so we can identify it as singular and masculine. Now, as we now know that sen is a masculine noun, we can attach a different ending to it in order to change its number. If we add a w, and I can't see it there in the word itself. This one, let me zoom in. Do you see any change?
Yeah, they seem to have not added.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was noticing that mistake yesterday, and we know this website kind of makes some mistakes.
Yeah, hard.
A few typos because they said I live with his wife one.
Oh, that was I was trying to remember where we came across that. Makes my day. Alright, so let's assume there was a w. I suppose it would have been, yeah, okay, judging by this wy suffixed one, that the phonetic part is all written together and then the determinative at the very end of the word, right? That's probably going to make,
that's right.
Yeah, it's kind of going to make reading easy, I would think, having those determinatives there. You know where the word boundary is. So the arrow symbol is a sin, and then n is pleonastically added. Let's assume it was senu or seneu or something. It becomes the plural brothers. If we add the ending waya, seneway, it becomes the two brothers. Sometimes in the place of the w in the plural, 3 plural strokes. Okay, a triple. Oh, okay. After the determinative, maybe use it instead. All right,
instead of putting 3 of the men, you put the man and then the 3.
That's nice. The abstraction of, and it looks like san also. Abstraction of 3 added on to the basic sign. In some cases, the plural and dual endings may not be written. Instead, the repetition is used to show its number. The word T3, so da or something, land. Let's try to find this one. That's going to be a biliteral root. T3. T, and it's going to be... where's my I? That's column 3, but it's not there.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's in 17.
Oh, so in the Gardner list?
The land, yeah, I think that's its code. I sent you in the chat another link. This one is that French Hieroglyph Dictionary, and it's just got a straight up list of everything by category. So you can find it and count it.
Looks like a wiki. Wait, so this is the Gardner list, right? And then if you
click that's not the one with the dot, so I must have miscounted. In 16, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's try that. And 1, 6. Oh, okay, you're just counting within that list which number it is.
That's right.
This looks like it. Very good. And that is T-ein. And that's the word for land. Is a great example of this. Okay, good. I'm happy that we're able to find these without too much trouble. It's a great example of this. If we were to add a second land hieroglyph below the first, it would become the away, the 2 lands, referring to Upper and Lower Egypt. If we were to add a third land hieroglyph below the second, it would become the awa, lands. This type of repetition to show numbers is common enough. You should commit it to memory, along with more things. Alrighty. Nouns apposition.
Okay, and just a quick geographical note. Because the Nile River
Flows northward.
empties northward
Yeah.
into the Mediterranean. Upper and Lower Egypt are the opposite of what you would first think if you look at a tip of
Yeah.
north up map.
Up north, yeah. Up is
So
where the
Upper
river.
Egypt is the south, and then Lower is the northern, more north path.
That sounds extremely correctical to me. Alright. Two nouns are placed next to each other. They're described as being in apposition. This type of relationship is common in Middle Egyptian. Let's look at an example, see how it works. In this example, we'll be looking at part of Tutankhamun's cartouche and the noun Nasawut, the king. Nasawut Tutankhamun, King Tutankhamun. When these nouns are placed in apposition, they form a noun phrase. Very nice. The King Tutankhamun.
Okay, the hieroglyphs don't appear on your
Oh,
device.
that's right.
It looks
They
like.
don't. Maybe they're a white letter on a white background, but you can't.
They appear on my device.
Oh, really? Okay, let me just reload.
Yeah.
Phooey. Nasawut. Now the what? Okay, that looks like a feminine thing, but I think that's just part of the noun king, right? It's not queen, and it's not even reloading for me. Good
Okay.
grief.
How
Bad
is
grief.
this? I'm now sharing my screen on Discord. Can you
Discord.
see it now?
Let's see. I need to figure out how to view your screen. How do I get there? Let me put this up in the shared browser. Sharing the screen. Well, it's tantalizingly telling me about it, but I don't know how to get there. Maybe if I go here, Levi sharing the screen, watch stream, I guess. Okay, yeah, this looks promising. Close that out. I wish I could minimize that. It's taken a minute. Stop watching. Phooey. Let me. I'm reloading. You can temporarily mute the server. Browsers require user interaction before they play audio. Watch stream. Alright, and it's back to trying to load. Well, let's listen to a bit of our sutra recitation while we give that a moment to do its thing.
Setavanang Munitrayam Om
Not going.
Ayuna Rudraka Evom Ayauj Hayavarat Lan Nyamangananam Jabhaya Ghadadash Jabagadadash Kapha Chata Tha Chatatavu Kapaya Shashasara Hala It.
Alright, I'm afraid it's just not working. The sharing of the screen. Are you there? That's dopey. You know what? Let me try. I'm gonna plug in the microphone. Can you hear me? Hello, hello? Let's see. Did I mute myself? Oh, I didn't want to do that. Phooey. Ah! Gosh darn it. Deafened.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I can hear you too. Well, that
Okay.
seemed not too successful, that screen share. It worked the other day, and on that trial run.
Yeah, I'm
Let's-
not sure. How can we
Uh-huh.
get that
Let's
visible?
just be cursed.
I mean, I could take a picture of it and send it to you, but then it's not really.
Yeah, we can just skip past it for now. This is just one example. There will be others. When these nouns are placed in apposition, they form a noun phrase of the king, Tutankhamun. We can identify another feather. We can identify. I love feathers of languages. I think they mean feature of the Egyptian language within the cartouche honorific transposition. Out of respect, the names for gods and kings are commonly placed at the front of noun phrases, even though they should be read after the connected nouns. So you might be inclined to transliterate Tutankhamun's cartouche as Imen Tut Nkh, as the orientation of the hieroglyphs suggests. However, this transliteration does not account for the honorific transposition and should be read Tut Nkh Imen instead.
See, that doesn't make sense when you don't know.
Right.
When you don't have the image. Okay.
That's true. I'll just take his word for it.
Try this link. I put
putting it in
the
the-
image in its own tab. Try
Oh,
that.
there we go. Yeah. Let me put it so we can all see it. Very nice. And let's try to relate it to what we have learned. So, the read facing leftward, so we're going to read left to right. And that's the E. Imen is there, right? The Lego brick is MN biliteral.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see Tut, Ankh. And then three that I don't recognize. There's a shepherd's crook looking thing. And then one that looks like Chinese bai. And then a planty looking one. And so this tells us that it's right. Tut Ankh Imen. It's got to be the Imen part. Ankh
Okay.
Imen. Or
Let's see.
determinative. Oh no, that's the. Is that the Nasut part?
Kind of. It looks kind of like it.
Nasut. Alright, the direct genitive is formed by two nouns that are placed in apposition.
Oh, it
Good.
means the king. It's a different. It doesn't look like the Nasut. It must be a different word for king or something. I don't know.
The three characters at the end after the yellow line?
Yeah, those do not quite look like Nasut. I'll send you what the Nasut looks like.
Oh wait, you might be inclined to translate. So that's Imen Tut Anach. Imen Tut Anach is how it looks on the yellow line part, yeah.
Right, but the names of gods go first when you write it.
Okay.
So you write
Tut
Imin
Ankh.
Tut Ankh.
But it should be Tut Ankh Imen.
So if you see the name of the god first, you know to move it at the end when you say it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sounds good. I'll probably forget, but here it is in lesson 2. Alright, let's go on to the genitive. Formed by two nouns that are
Oh,
placed.
this tells us what those remaining symbols are, this genitive part.
Okay, good. Direct genitive is formed by two nouns that are placed in apposition. However, the direct genitive expresses the relationship of possession, X nouns, Y noun, the king's wife, possessor and possessed. In Middle Egyptian, the possessed noun always precedes its possessor. Well, it makes sense for a verb initial language. Let's look at an example of the direct genitive. All right. Oh, here we go. Ha-ka-a. Iwnu. Shmu. Iwnu.
Do those load for you?
Yes. Are you seeing them on the
Okay.
screen here? It might take a moment to
Not yet.
catch up. Shmu. So it's the ruler of Heliopolis of Upper Egypt. The ruler of Upper Egypt's Heliopolis. Alright, the crook, the shepherd's crook makes sense for ruler, I think. The scepter, maybe. And then Heliopolis means sun city, as far as the parts of the words. But what is a Heliopolis? Do you know?
I think that's just the name for the. No, let's see. Oh, the Shimwa thing is the, I think, probably Upper Egypt.
I believe so. Heliopolis, historical, the ancient capital of the 13th nome of Lower Egypt, located in the northern suburbs of modern Cairo, known in ancient Egypt as Lunu or Yunu, can't tell, and in later Coptic as On, so probably Yunu. Huh. Heliopolis. Neato. Sun City, from the important solar cults of Ra and Baal. In this example, the direct genitive is composed of a noun haqqa, is that the first one? Ruler, and a noun phrase Iwnu Shimu, Heliopolis of Upper Egypt. We know this is a direct genitive through a process of elimination. If we were to translate this example without the possessive relationship, it would be the ruler, Upper Egypt's Heliopolis. More likely option would be to translate it as direct genitive. So this is like Arabic too. You have unmarked possessor phrases describing Tutankhamun's role as Heliopolis's ruler. There are two ways to translate the genitive. Apostrophe S attached to the possessor. Yeah, I think we get that. Indirect genitive. Oh Lord. The indirect genitive is another construction that expresses possession. This construction is easier to identify because it uses a genitival adjective. The genitival adjective is placed in between two nouns, and like direct genitives, the first noun is the possessed. All right. The genitival adjective that is used is determined by the first noun. It must match in both gender and number. Okay. Masculine, N. Feminine, net. Plural, nayaw. What's going on there? Why is that a single sign?
Which one?
In this chart, possessive genitival adjectives, masculine, plural.
Masculine,
Oh, okay,
plural.
it's got to be a bi- or triliteral hieroglyph. N, ya, wa, or nu. So let's go to our biliteral ones. N, wa. N and W. Okay, it's got that little jar one. W24. Oh, not there. Type in here. W224 space. And there it is. Looks like a light fixture.
Oh, kind of does. I'm sure it's not that. They did not have light fixtures back then.
You were there, were you? And dual masculine, nayoya. Na, wa, and then a ya. Okay. Feminine singular, nut. Feminine plural, nayat. Nayet. Or dual, nayati. So, phrase here, oh, it's nice and birdie. The mother of the daughter. So the possessed is first. It's going to be daughter. Wait, what's first? The possessed. Daughter of
The mother.
Yeah. Mawat. And then nut for possessive. And then sa'at for daughter. In the example above, the first noun mawat is singular and feminine, so the corresponding singular feminine genitival adjective net follows it. The singular possessive adjective is identical to a preposition that you will learn later on, N24. So it may be difficult at first to determine how the end is being used, but with practice it's become a non-issue. I love non-issues. Nouns lists. Alright, lists are common in Middle Egyptian and contain 2 or more nouns. Below is an example that shows a number of consecutively placed nouns. I wonder if these are compounds or if they're phrases. Alright, the meaning here: bread, beer, honey, and wine. So tea, the first word. Hanaqata. I recognize Q and T there. Oh, and the twisted braid is a ha, right? Emphatic H.
Yes, it is.
And beer, I see a little jug determinative. Then honey, we've got this nice B. And the word is bit, and it also has a jug. So I wonder if the B is a biliteral BY hieroglyph. B.
Oh, it could be, yeah.
Right, the B is B.
That would be convenient. Then it's
Good.
the B.
It's not in this chart. And then irp, the last word for wine. E is the reed, and then RP, good. And it's got a jug, and it's got the triple sign, rotated 90 degrees from what we saw before. For wine,
There
I
should
suppose.
be
Oh, maybe because the whole phrase is more than one thing.
the whole thing, yeah.
All right, cool. Makes me that so it behaves like Sanskrit dvandva compounds also.
Mm-hmm.
Well, assuming this is a compound, it looks a lot like that Sanskrit class. When you find a string of nouns, it is quite likely that it is a list. Do you remember the term, the Sanskrit grammarian's term for a conjunctive compound, conjoining things? So like bittersweet to mean bitter and sweet, or father-mother to mean parents. Do you remember what we call that one?
That's a dvandva.
That's exactly. That's what it is. That's what I think this Egyptian construction might be.
Okay.
And in Sanskrit, when you add it pita, mata, which is used in Hindi too, I believe, then it would be a single stem, but the inflection would be dual endings because it refers to 2 people. So it'd be pita matarau in nominative and accusative.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Like the 2 father-mothers, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So this plural marking, that's what really makes me think of that. When you find, yeah, we got that. Let's see. The easiest way to determine the relationship of the nouns is to translate them using all 3 relationships. How simple. For apposition, the bread, comma, beer, and the honey, comma, wine does not make much sense. I agree. Possession, the bread of beer and the honey of wine. It's an even sillier option. And then so it's likely a list. So we're either looking at, well, we've got 2 nouns together. A is B, that apposition construction, or A of B, or A and B. Memorization. Don't mind if I do, but it's just got this little book icon and nothing else. Is that different when you have this page open?
Yeah, I have the actual chart full.
That's good. But we've got some vocabulary. PR for the house. Per or something. So how can I find this?
I have that. It's text in mine. Let me see if I can highlight it. So put it in the chat. The chat does not.
Okay, look. In the biliteral roots, we have the PR one. That is O1. Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
And I can get it over here.
It looks weird and small in the chat.
Yeah, it does. But I like that it renders it. O1 for this.
Oh, now it's got it. The vocabulary is showing.
On my page?
Yes, I see it on the...
No, the vocabulary is, it's the memorization that's the issue.
Oh.
This one
I
above.
think that's just a heading. It will say vocabulary, and then biliteral, triliterals, etc.
I see. Yeah, that's right. The PR is in the biliteral ones. Good. O1. What is the O set in Gardner's grouping? Oh, that'll be on this. No. What's that? Just gotta go back.
O is, apparently, I can say it in French. It's bâtiment, partie des bâtiments.
Partie de bâtiment. Parties of bâtiments.
You know what that means?
Buildings and parts of buildings.
Okay.
This is a very handy page here. Oh, CH. Do you know what country is hosting this one? You know what CH stands for?
No.
It is Switzerland.
Oh, because the French name of Switzerland, probably?
No, that is Suisse. It's the Latin name. It's the Confederation, or Confederacy is the C, and then Helvetians is the tribal name, as in Caesar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in Europe, on license plates, and sometimes they have stickers for cars. Got these 2, maybe max 3 letter codes for countries. Germany's D, Denmark is DK, and CH is Switzerland. So on for all the countries of Europe. E for Spain. Alright, so with these vocabulary words that it wants us to memorize, let's figure out how to get them, how to find them. Imen, those are the reed and the wavy water, those are single consonant ones. Uniliterals. The Lego brick is MN, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Oh, here's the one I want. Letter classification by Gardner. Buildings, parts of buildings is O. Eamon, let me just find that. MN by literal M. And it's got 2 of them there. Y5 for the one we're looking for.
Oh, it's a music instrument, I think, or a tool.
The Lego brick?
Because the Y is écriture, jeu, musique.
Oh, very nice. And it's just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 members in the class. And then unclassed signs. So that one that I was puzzled by 2 days ago when we started, you said it might be that chisel. Where did you find it? That'd be in tools, I suppose. Oh, this may be it, right?
Oh, and the elephant word?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Let me see. I'm going to check my text because I texted you the code.
Mais c'est occupation. Alright, let's keep going. Amun, and then the little deity determiner with the chin beard. Divinité. Which one are you? I like that you can just click on these guys. C, and then which one is it?
Letter C.
C1?
I don't know which number it is.
C1 seems to be the only one with the beard there.
It also has a sun on top of its head.
Indeed. Dieu avec soleil et Uranus sur la tête.
Which of them is the god Amun?
Amun, okay, here's one. C12, but that's got kind of a headdress that this one doesn't have. Dieu Amun, coiffé d'une couronne à 2 plumes et tenant le sceptre. S40. Il se peut qu'on trouve ce signe de divinité comme idéaux ou dite dans des inscriptions du Moyen-Égypte. Mais par manque d'évidence positive antérieure, ce modèle de signe a été repris de monuments de 19e dynastie ou plus tard.
Well, we want the god Amun, which is C12.
E12?
C12.
C12, yeah, C.
C.
Yeah, you are correct. Deities are C's. Well, it looks quite different to me there. But alright. I'll take it. It's got the chin beard. And this C12. Are you sure it's 12? It's holding this sign. There's a scepter or something.
What this, where it says divinité anthropomorphe. It says that's Amun.
It does say that, yeah.
Obviously, we need Amun for this word.
It's a doozy because it's number 12. Ptah, Ray. Seth. That's a good name. Okay, moving on. Nib for Lord, Owner, Master. What's the N hieroglyph? That is... Oh, it's a different one.
N is the little zigzag. This is
Yeah.
a biliteral.
Okay,
NB.
NB. And then what is the single stroke, the downward stroke here after? Do you have any idea?
We also see it in per.
Uh-huh.
It means that we're using this kind of to stand for itself. So it's a biliteral or something. We're not using it. We're using it both phonetically and for the meaning.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
I think so. So no determinant needed.
Because we
That's the idea.
right.
That makes
Yeah.
I like that. Cool. It is itself.
hmm
Okay. And so I saw it there in this one list of the biliterals. NB is V30 and group V, c'est quoi? V. I'll list here. V. Whew.
What is
V is rope, fiber, baskets, bags, etc. Okay. V is corde, fibre, panier, sac, etc. Nasut. Oh, the image is missing. Nasut.
Oh, but we
King.
saw Nasut earlier, right? In King
that's
Tut's name.
the image you shared. It's the crook and this thing. Yes, we saw it. We have it in the
No.
cartouche, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At the end, at the
no,
right.
no. In the cartouche is News Shemewu, the ruler of Upper Egypt, right above the cartouche. It's the plant-looking thing and the T and the N.
Huh. Netcher forgot.
Yeah, let me send the email,
Okay.
an image of it.
Netcher.
Not the thing inside the cartouche, but this.
That's not inside. Oh, I just got rid of it. No. Oh, the T I see and N. Oh, is this read the other way? Right to left, maybe?
I don't know. There's no. It could be. There's no animals to tell me which way.
That's right. Yeah. The order is peculiar. The T is floating above the N. I wonder if there's a reason for that. Netcher for God is triliteral.
Oh, that would be an example then. I told you yesterday. Sometimes they'll go a little out of order if it makes them stack nice.
Okay, yeah. That sounds familiar. Nachara. So I'm looking now at the triliteral signs list. How are these ordered? It's not a spreadsheet the same as that biliteral one.
Well, that would kind of need to be in 3D.
It would be in 3 dimensions, yeah. Or spreadsheets within spreadsheets. But I see Netcher here. It is R8. Let me just retrieve it here. Wonderful. Looks like a flagpole. And R, c'est quoi? R is mobilier des temples et emblèmes sacrés. So, temple furniture and sacred emblems. 8, there it is. Okay, I'm finding it delightful to track these things down in their lists. I feel like I can find my way around here. So, Re, the god of the sun. I see a sun determinant too. And it's R, Ein. The arm is Ein, huh? These are uniliterals. Ein is up near the beginning of the alphabet. There it is. Red forearm. Called Ein. Oh, look at this. Look at this note in phonetic values for the red forearm. It says Ein, phonetic value for Old Egyptian, Ein or debatably D. Typological Egyptian D to Ein in 2014. So pretty up-to-date research. Martin Haspelmatt was involved in editing this book. How cool. Perhaps retained in some words and dialects. That's an interesting one. What's going on with that? Maybe it was an emphatic D, and then it just kept one component. Very interesting. Right, let's review the words we've seen. The house is pretty straightforward. The god Amun, phonetic with redundant marking of the N, and then the God determinative. Nib for Lord, Owner, Master. Okay. Nasut is the one you shared. Where to go? Oh yeah, I didn't drag it over here. There we go. There we go. Necher for God and Ra, I guess. So the sun determinative, where would that be? What part of Gardner's list? Not human
I'm
body,
guessing
nature,
in
ciel, terre,
ciel,
eau. Yeah.
terre,
Yep.
eau.
Looks like N5. So let's get it here. N5. Nice. So now when I'm talking about the development of the kanji, I can involve this one, depicting the sun. Alright, then we have ren for name. Interesting that there's no single stroke. Ren. What?
Well, there wouldn't be because it's two different glyphs. It's not a combination.
Oh, right. That's for... Okay, you're right. A single sign. End of word. Okay. Ren is just name. And man, the word is se or something. So, what do you make of the... I see a little human figure and a single stroke, non-determinative. But what's the sign above there, the horizontal one with two beads on it? Do you recognize that?
Yeah, the horizontal with two beads is it's one of the letter S's.
S.
One
Oh,
of the ones that can
okay,
be romanized as
gotcha.
if you want.
S phoneme, yeah. Okay, so where are you? Is it the... Yeah, there it is, the door bolt. And it says phonetic value very unclear. Proposed values include z, ts, s, th. Door bolt. Oh, it's the letter Zion maybe continues this idea. And then sun is sa, so this must be a biliteral one. S ein. Sa, no, not there.
It would be in birds.
Okay.
Oiseau.
Wazoo. Voiced fricative there. And
Oiseau.
early on, yeah, we go. Okay, let's take a look again. A duck-looking one. They're very good renderers of birds.
Ooh. Is it this one? G28, maybe.
28? 38. 28. That one looks like it's bending down, but this one, not so much. More upright position. Could be 29? Or is it G38? Not too far off, I think.
We need an ornithologist
Yeah.
to figure this out.
Let me try G38. And we're comparing that to, well, not too far. Not too far off. It's got the same sort of energy for the sun. And this one...
Does our biliteral chart have it?
It does not. I couldn't find it, at least. Maybe I wasn't looking in quite the right place. I'm looking in the S row. Across here. Yeah, the ein is the third letter in this ordering. Just missed.
Oh.
What do you think?
Wait. Okay. Yeah, it should be Z ein. Remember, the door bolt is romanized as Z. So it should be G39 is our number.
Oh, I was one off. Okay, G39. So, where do you find that? Are you looking? Did you find it in the Wikipedia?
Yes, in the biliteral chart, it's in the Z row. Z ein.
0.
Right about
And
that
the
because
Z,
the door
okay.
bolt is the Z in that first
Oh,
column.
look at that. Is that ein? I think that's glottal stop. But yeah, I see that one there in that row. But I thought the double not C, right? Tell you what, let me go over to my little paint pad. I mean, this double shape, I think this is glottal stop. And an IPA, right, it's open the same way. Whereas the ein, traditionally, is this way, like a letter C.
Oh, well, maybe there's
So maybe there's disagreement.
some variation.
But let's get...
Oh.
Here we have them side by side, G39 and G38.
Oh, yeah, it is glottal stop. It's just also spelled as 3.
Oh, boy.
The 2 double shape.
Oh, that makes sense because it's the double... Yeah, alright. Oh, boy. Confusing,
Yeah.
but I get the logic. Okay. Alrighty. It's just what we got to deal with.
So it's not with an ein, it's with the glottal stop. There should be like set F or something.
Yeah, sounds about right. Interesting that re has only 2 consonants in it, and we write 4 distinct symbols to represent the name. Keeping them scribe employed. Ren for the name, se for man, se for the son, sen for brother. So the man, the single dude, gonna be in maybe the very first one. Is it A1?
A.
This
A
brother word.
I know. Yeah, I think the first one maybe.
Let's take a look over here. I love having a hieroglyph word processor. That's so cool.
Yeah, because all the other men are like doing activities.
Looks pretty good. Yeah, we just have different fonts, which is cool. And then we have inscribed, sesh. Looks like the same determinative, interestingly. He's just got his hands open and not holding anything. Alright, and then a really cool biliteral one that looks kind of like a street lamp or something in the
it's apparently Scribe's Tools.
Scribe's Tools. Okay, maybe that one on the right is the stylus. Maybe it's a pot of ink or something. Very cool. Sesh. I wonder if anybody knows what the things are. That seemed like it would be something that would turn up in the archaeological record. Let's look for it in the biliterals. Sesh, sa, and then sha. Toward the end. Huh.
It's Y3.
Y3. Alright, let me look for it here. Not in that list, but let's type. Where did you find Y? Oh, did you look for it on that Swiss site? Did you find it there?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Love it. I just am tempted to see if this has an entry in Wiktionary, since it's just a single sign. No. Oh well. I guess we've outgrown Wiktionary as we move on to Egyptian. Sesh, and then dipet for the boat. D as in hand. P as in that mat, and T. Okay, good. And then a nice boat kanji. So bateau is French for boat. What letter is that?
P. Bateau.
Merci. Looks like
bateau.
Looks like P1, don't you think?
Uno? Yeah.
Let's compare. Looks like it's got some loot in the boat and a rudder, I can see. I wonder what the thing on the bottom is. Why it's like that. Interesting depiction.
I don't know. One note I have is this. We saw Y3 for the Scribe's Tools.
Yes.
Y4 is the same thing, but like a mirror image.
Uh-huh.
So maybe that's for if you had a left-handed scribe, I guess. I don't know.
I wonder. That is interesting. I can't wait to learn all about it. Okay, and let's just review from the top. Per, the house. We see the floor plan. Imen, for the god. Neb, Lord, owner, master. Okay, now let's do a quick Chinese comparison. The word Zhu, which is YG, I think it had a kind of similar shape. in its old form. Let's see. Glyph origin. Alright, let me just blow it up. The Lord Owner Master. Well, it's got that bowl thing in common. Neb. And was this biliteral? Must be.
Mhm.
It's kind of similar to the R, except it's not symmetrical in the same way. Nasut king, which you shared. Necher for God, so a triliteral sign. Re'eh, which has the phonetic ones, and then two determinatives. Sun God, makes a kind of sense. Ren for the name. Se for the man, with maybe a ze would have been the sound of it. Se'eh for the son, written with a duck. My duck son. Sen for the brother. Sesh for the scribe, with his tool. Sen. But what about this downward arrow? Where is that in the Swiss list? What sort of, or in the gardener's list, rather? Do you remember the downward? Oh, that was in biliterals. SN. Okay, good. Yeah, this is really handy. I've got it open in the biliteral signs spreadsheet, and you can just do a Control F to find that combination. It's T22, and T, c'est quoi? Guerre, chasse, boucherie. What is boucherie? I don't know this word. Guerre is war, chasse is the hunt. Mais boucherie, c'est quoi? Mouthery. Butchery. That's what.
Butchery, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Butcher shop, butchering, bloodbath, slaughter, and carnage. Yum yum. Boucherie. Interesting.
Oh, yes, here's the arrow, T22.
Merci beaucoup. Okay, there we go, yeah. So it's probably an actual arrow. The arrow being an arrow, and we have it in the word brother. 7. Do you know of a dictionary that lets you input an English word and find it in Egyptian?
I don't.
Okay, that's right. No biggie.
There's an Egyptian English dictionary. But there is a list of a bunch of dictionaries on Lexilogos.
Okay.
Let me send you that list.
W-I.
It
We've
might
got more.
contain what you're looking for.
W-I. Oh wow, yeah, there's a whole bunch there. Let's see. Egyptian English, Egyptian French, Gardner list, A to Sun, Sur to T, hieroglyphic vocabulary, Budge, okay, Dictionnaire égyptien, I guess it's not really what people need. Nobody needs to, to be able to speak Egyptian these days. Egyptian lessons. Frisian school pronunciation. Ooh, pronunciation of the Egyptian language. Yes, please. Okay, let's read through the rest of lesson 2, and then we can turn to this nice resource here. Have you looked at this ever? Frisian.com.
Which resource?
Frisian.com. I've got it open in my big tab with the gray background. The pronunciation of ancient Egyptian. Let me just put it in the chat too.
Okay. Yes, I have not yet looked at it.
Okay. Let's look at these biliterals. W-ine for some sort of tool or boat looking thing. Not given. Nope. Maybe 3. Nope. Well, let's just go to the W row. There it is. T21. $21, $31. There it is. Huh. T21. Any idea what this one is that I have in Lexilogos? T21?
P21.
It's like a harpoon or something now that I'm looking at it. Oh, big. PR Noah. Oh,
It comes right before the arrow for the brother.
and then we've
It
got
says harpon à une barbe.
Une barbe has a barb.
Yeah, a harpoon with a barb.
Where are
Rarely
you?
vertical.
Where are you reading it from? Does it give you when you hover over it?
I clicked on it
Okay. Okay.
on the this website.
Gotcha. Harpon à une barbe with a barb. Yeah. Rarement vertical. Oh, cool! It gives you the hieratic written form too. Very nice. Whew.
Oh, cool.
And the sound is wah. Yeah, makes sense.
I'm glad you know French, so this resource can be maximally useful for you.
Indeed. All right, let's look. Hear this H bowl. I will call this letter and ein. And by literal H bowl. Here, the third one. And ein. There it is. N28. What do we know about?
And that is H with a little round thing under. Which
Yep.
H is that? Do we know?
No, I don't think anyone knows. I'm going to call it H bowl because the diacritic look is bowl shaped. Call that for now. And what was it, H21? N28. Let's look it up in the Swiss list. And it's ciel, terre, eau.
Oh, H bowl is the sort of striped circle one. The
Ça. Colline au-dessus de laquelle sont les rayons du soleil se levant. That is a hill above which are the rays of the rising sun.
Oh wow.
Hill with sun rays. Yeah. The rays of sunrise. Okay, here's that planty looking one. SW. S and W. There it is. M23. And 2, 3. Bam. Nice. What does the Swiss list tell us about M23? Arbre et plante. There it is. M23. Jonc, I don't know this word. Plante héraldique de Haute-Égypte. Probablement de la forme du jonc, mais sans les fleurs. Alright, some kind of plant name that I don't know. A junk. Rush, cane, rattan, trim, bangle, ring. And the sound is just jonc. From Juncus. What is a Juncus? Ioinikos. Related to Old Norse Einir, juniper. And Middle Irish Aine. Sometimes connected to Juniperus with some doubt. Jonc. Alright. Learning all over the place here, just like we are wont, like is our wont. And then the sen we learned. What word was it in? Brother? The arrow sen? Is that the one? Yeah, brother.
Yeah, brother is spelled this arrow, and then double the N.
Yep.
And then
A
the
man.
man.
Good. Speaking of brother, tomorrow's my middle brother's birthday. He's turning 39.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, we shall congratulate him. Kem. What is this nice thing? Looks kind of like a wing or something. KM. K and
Is
M.
it a part
I6.
of an animal?
Uh-huh. I is animal parts? I6.
It depends on the animal. I is for amphibians and reptiles.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. Alright, let's go to this one. Morceau de peau de crocodile avec ses écailles. Piece of crocodile skin with scales. And that hieratic sign looks just like that other hieratic. Maybe this is just a single invariant symbol. So a kem is a crocodile skin fragment. Oh, kemet in the word for Egypt we have this sign. Sekem, aux cheveux gris, with gray hair. Alright, next biliteral is gem, with a cool looking bird. Gem is G28. And what's section G? Is that birds? Must be. N'est-ce pas? G28. Oiseau. 28. C'est ça. This one. Ibis falcinel plegaris falcinellus. Tim looks kind of like a ladder. What are you, Tim? Tim. There it is, U15. Or a sled, maybe. U15. I guess I can just type it in here. Signe. Traîneau. C'est quoi, traîneau? Another word I don't know. Nope. Goodness. Buzz off. Traginare, traero. Oh, okay, sled or sleigh. Huh. Yep. You still there?
Yep.
Okay, good. Triliterals. Whoo, boy. And some exercises. Alright, I need to turn away from this for a moment. Brainful. Let's read a little bit about the pronunciation of ancient Egyptian. Has become confused by popular presentations that ignore some of the essential and undoubted characteristics of Egyptian hieroglyphics. Most importantly, that Egyptian, just as today is usually the case with Arabic and Hebrew, did not write vowels, except in late transcriptions of foreign, mainly Greek words. For a time, French vowels and German no-vowels scholars, vowel-free scholars, debated this, but the matter was settled more than a century ago. This is typically not explained to people who are told that their names can be written in such and such a way in hieroglyphics, or who are simply told that the name of the Egyptian sun god is Ra. The pronunciation we find in the entertaining and fun, but silly and historically absurd movies Stargate and The Mummy. Well, Ra may be Tahitian for sun, but it is not ancient Egyptian. However, we may know what the Egyptian pronunciation was, as discussed below. As it happens, the Egyptian dialogue in those movies reconstructed by Stuart Tyson Smith avoids that mistake for anyone who listens carefully, but the misconception is perpetuated by the English dialogue despite Dr. Smith's advice. Indeed, although the Egyptians did not write vowels in Egyptian words, there is evidence about what the vowels were in many cases. The evidence is for different stages of the Egyptian language. For most of Egyptian history, the language written in actual hieroglyphics, or in its cursive counterpart, hieratic, was the literary language initiated in the 12th dynasty, 1991, of the Middle Kingdom. That is called Middle Egyptian, and it became the classical language of ancient Egypt. In hieroglyphics or hieratic, therefore, one is only likely to encounter either Middle Egyptian or the earlier literary form of the language Old Egyptian, the language spoken in the Archaic period, 1st and 2nd dynasties, and the Old Kingdom, 3rd through 6th dynasties. Wow. While Sir Alan Gardner, in his great and indispensable Egyptian Grammar, says that Middle Egyptian was possibly the vernacular of dynasties 9 to 11, Stephen Fryer has brought to my attention recent research to the effect that the literary language of the 12th dynasty was in some measure an artificial attempt to return to the forms of Old Egyptian. Since the political project of Egyptian kings was always to restore things as they were in the beginning, this is not surprising. Middle Egyptian, therefore, may have something like the status of classical Sanskrit, which restored and fixed the forms of the language of the Vedas, but could not undo all the changes that had already occurred in the spoken language. This person writes very well and is quite well informed, and was also tempted to regularize some things previously irregular. This makes Sanskrit grammar extremely regular, which students of Greek would appreciate were it not for other difficulties with the language. Although Middle Egyptian became the literary and written language, the spoken language continued to change. The language of the New Kingdom, 18th to 20th dynasties, and much of the 3rd intermediate period, 21st to 24th, is then called the New or Late Egyptian. By the Ramessid period, dynasties 19 to 20, most hieratic documents are in Late Egyptian. The best evidence of the pronunciation of Late Egyptian, however, is from the documents found in the diplomatic archives of Amenhotep III and Akhenaton at Amarna. For these documents were kept in Akkadian, not Egyptian. Akkadian was the diplomatic language of the day, essentially the same language as its two daughter languages, Babylonian and Assyrian, and its system of writing, cuneiform, represented vowels. Late Egyptian grammar also begins to be revealed by hieroglyphic inscriptions during the reign of Akhenaton, when the spoken language briefly replaced Middle Egyptian. Thus, while Old and Middle Egyptian did not have a definite article the, Late Egyptian does. Pa, later pronounced p or pet in Coptic, though now it appears that this change had already begun in the actual spoken language of the 12th dynasty. Following Late Egyptian, there are two stages of the spoken language, Demotic and Coptic. Wow, I didn't know that Coptic was used until 1600, did you?
I thought it was still going on. Isn't there a current group of people who are Coptic?
There may be people who
That
call themselves
practice
Coptic
Christianity?
Christians and who keep the liturgy, but I don't think it exists as a spoken language anymore.
I see.
Egyptian words borrowed into early Greek probably reflect... Oh, hi, Jazz Robot Games. Yes. It's amazing how much we all didn't know that. That is Evan, by the way. Jazz Robot Games. Did you know he streams too?
I didn't.
He's got a Twitch channel.
Oh, cool.
While Old and Mid... Oh, yeah, we saw that. Egyptian words borrowed into early Greek probably reflect Demotic pronunciation. Demotic was written in its own cursive script, so this form of the written language is also called Demotic. While the last hieroglyphic inscription was made at Philae in 394 AD, wow, that's cool. Not long after the Christian Roman Emperor Theodosius I ordered the closure of the pagan temples, the last Demotic text is from 470. Demotic, so
What was the thing that was cool that you said?
What was it?
You just said it was made in Philae at 394 AD. Whoa, that's cool.
That it was that far after into the Common Era, 4 centuries, and that that you have the oldest stages 3,000 something BC. So you got 3,000 years, more than 3,000 years of a literary tradition. Pretty impressive. I guess only Chinese can match that. Demotic writing disappeared only because, as the Egyptians themselves converted to Christianity, they ceased to use the old script. Instead, they began to write in the Greek alphabet with the addition of 7 letters borrowed from Demotic to write sounds that didn't exist in Greek. Since vowels did exist in Greek, we suddenly have the complete vocalization of the last stage of the Egyptian language, which is then called Coptic, from the Arabic term for Egyptian Christians, the Copts, al-Qubta. That word was from, via Coptic, the Greek name for Egypt, Aegyptos, which was derived from an Egyptian name for Memphis. Oh, this I didn't know. Chowat Ka'apata. Okay, can you line? Okay, the T there dropped apparently, but the goop for K3P and then tos. That makes sense. See below for the use of numbers. The house of the soul of Ptah. Ptah was the patron god of Memphis. The name Memphis itself apparently comes from Men-Nefer, originally the name of the pyramid of King Pepi. I don't know if it's Pepi or what. King Pepi I of the 6th dynasty, enduring beauty, or with the name of the king understood, the goodness of Pepi endures. Coptic slowly died out as Egyptians converted to Islam and Arabic became the spoken language. Though it ceased to be a spoken language by the 17th century, Coptic remains the liturgical language of the Coptic Church, to which 6%, or 10, of Egyptians still belong. Wow. And thus is as well remembered and used in that context as Latin is in the Catholic Church or classical Arabic is in Islam. So even now, Coptic is not a dead language the way Babylonian is, whose last cuneiform inscription was in AD 75. It is a passive classical language in the terms of Robert, which means, of course, that it is read but is not otherwise used for communication and does not generate any new literature. Jean-François Champollion learned Coptic because he suspected it was the same language written in the hieroglyphics of the Rosetta Stone. Clever fellow. He was right and was thus aided in his epic decipherment. The Copts themselves recently achieved international prominence when one of their number, Boutros Ghali, served as Secretary General of the UN, 92 to 96. There is also now a large Coptic immigrant community in the US, swollen by people fleeing terrorist attacks and other assaults by Islamic radicals in Egypt. The American Coptic community includes Hoda Kotb, now anchor of the NBC Today Show, who, however, was born in the United States in 1964 prior to recent troubles in Egypt. Quite a wide-spanning essay here. There are different kinds of signs used in ancient Egyptian writing. Ideograms represent whole words, usually with 2 or 3 consonant root, as in Arabic or Hebrew. Thus, the glyph nefer is the word good or beautiful, or be good, beautiful, happy, although it is a picture, according to Sir Alan Gardner, of the heart and windpipe. Looks like a banjo to me. An ideogram that is an image of its object is a pictogram. Like the glyph for the scarab or dung beetle, kheper, or like that for the sun, re. However, if the consonant root of the ideogram or pictogram occurs in other words, it can be transferred to use as a phonogram, simply representing the sounds. Thus the glyph men, picture of a gaming board. Okay, so Lego block is really not that far off. Is used as a biliteral phonogram in many words, e.g. men remain, mench efficient, menet thigh in the common name of the god Ammon, etc. The glyph cheper can be used as a triliteral phonogram to mean become, or can occur in chepresh, a certain blue crown worn by the king. This could be confusing, so words are often also written with generic determinatives, glyphs that were not pronounced, but indicated what kind of thing a word was, e.g. God, which shows that a word is the name of the god, or writing, which shows that a word has something to do with writing. This device was also used in cuneiform. So this use of generic is interesting. Do you know the breakdown in Latin of this generic word? It's interesting that it has
Well, I know
X
like
suffix.
the root is genus.
Exactly.
And then
Uh-huh.
in the genitive, it's like generis or something.
Generis, that's right. So I would represent the structure of this word as genos, if the os is the last syllable, and if you have another suffix following, genes, with rhoticism there, because you have the s between vowels voicing and so on. Besides phonograms that stand for 2 or 3 consonants, there are also 24 or 25 signs that represent single sounds, the Egyptian alphabet. These were originally ideograms also, and some continued to stand for common words. For instance, re is a picture of a mouth, used to mean mouth, language, etc., and is a unilateral sign. These alphabetic signs were frequently written with ideograms or pictures as phonetic complements, both to provide reminders about pronunciation and to distinguish meanings, as when grammatical endings differentiate between nouns and verbs, or between singular and plural. For us, the alphabetic signs can conveniently be used to represent or discuss Egyptian phonology. Note that Egyptian glyphs have a front and a back. All the images above and below face to the left, e.g. the alphabetic sign J, which indicates that the text is to be read from left to right. This is conformable with the usage of English and other European languages. Oh, could that have anything to do with that reversed scribal equipment sign? Why would that be the only one that's reversed, though? It didn't quite work. Let's see. They indicate, okay, right to left, as today is done in Hebrew and Arabic. They indicated this direction by having all the glyphs face to the right instead of the left, which transforms the sign for J above to J. Much the same thing was done with the Greek alphabet, whose left to right form consisted of mirror images of the original Phoenician letters that had been adopted, and that were at first written like Phoenician, right to left. The Egyptians also often wrote from top to bottom in narrow columns, so Egyptian text could even be easily integrated into Chinese and Japanese books. Seems like a good place to take a break. Let's do a bit of Duolingo. Maybe some Chinese. Any requests? Anything you were curious about or wanting to see more?
Ooh, if we're gonna take a break, let's do not Chinese, because we've just done so much logograms
Alrighty.
by doing Egyptian.
Any specific non-Chinese language in mind? Or shall I choose? Gosh darn.
Up to you.
Alrighty, let me do some Norwegian.
I don't know how helpful I'll be able to be because my screen is like a little behind.
Right. Okay. Let's just listen. Oh, are you able to hear sound coming through?
Farlig.
No?
For the most part, but I guess my internet is not super great because it's kind of like you keep dropping out.
I see. Okay. Alright, I won't call on you too much there.
Pen.
Pen was pretty or something.
Berømt.
Berühmt sounds like famous. In German, berühmt. That's what it is. Farlig, I think, would be dangerous.
Det er ikke så lett.
Det er ikke så lett. Det er ikke så lett. So a common theme is that a single final T will be silent, but a double T still sounded. It is not so easy.
Lett.
Let is light, leicht. It's not that easy. Det er ikke så lett.
Vi spiser middag på en berømt restaurant.
Vi spiser middag på en berømt restaurant.
Vi spiser middag på en berømt restaurant.
Vi spiser middag på en berømt restaurant. We eat lunch upon a famous restaurant. Vi spiser middag på en berømt restaurant.
Det nye huset er der.
Det nye huset er der. Alright, interesting.
Huset.
That nye, that it doesn't have a T on it. It's this new house, the new house. Huset er der is there. Det nye huset er der.
Det nye huset er der.
Yeah.
Yes?
I'm gonna be right back.
Okay. I
I
should
need
be
to
here
refill
for
my drink.
a little bit.
De store kattene er farlige.
De store kattene er farlige. The big cats, right? The big cats are dangerous. De store kattene er farlige.
De store kattene er farlige.
De store kattene er farlige.
Hvor er det nye slipset?
Hvor er
det nye
slipset?
slipset?
What's the new tie?
Den anden er veldig rik.
Den anden er veldig rik. The duck is very rich. That duck. Den anden er is veldig very rik, rich.
Hvor er den gamle broen?
Hvor er den gamle broen? Broen, bridge.
Broen.
Gammel. Where is the old bridge? The den is interesting. Why is it an N ending there?
Hvorfor er denne katten så lang?
Why is that cat so long? Hvorfor er denne katten så lang? Why is this cat? Denne.
Barnet deres er veldig ungt.
Barnet deres er veldig ungt. Their child. Er veldig ungt is very young.
Det store dyret sover.
Det store dyret sover. The big animal sleeps. Det store dyret sover.
Store. Det store dyret sover.
Sover.
Du er en rik mann.
En rik mann with no ending. You are a rich man. Du er en rik mann.
Du er en rik mann.
Du er en rik mann.
Jeg er så glad.
I am so happy. Jeg er så glad.
De fattige barna leker ute.
Fattige.
Fattige.
Barnet leker ute are playing outside. The poor children are playing, leker, outside, ute.
De fattige barna leker ute.
De fattige barna leker ute.
Vi er ikke unge.
So Levi, you back?
Yes, I am. Det
Well-
er ikke unge.
Unge. Yeah. So I think we saw this unge the other moment ago, but what's your guess about that?
Vi er ikke unge.
It lost a glide at the beginning.
Junge.
Good. It means young, yeah. Vi er ikke unge. So you're not young.
Den pene kvinnen er berømt.
Pene, the pretty woman. Den pene kvinnen. So, what's up with this N?
Den.
Den for the. Looks like a German accusative masculine, but it can't be that. The pretty woman. Kvinnen. Den pene kvinnen berømt is famous.
Den lette fuglen og den tunge bjørnen.
Den lette fuglen og den tunge bjørnen. Tung was heavy.
Tunge.
The light bird and the heavy bear. Den lette fuglen og den tunge bjørnen. Den. Jeg ikke rik. I am not rich. With no ending on it. All the pretty horses. Alle. De pene hestene. So, it's really...
That almost sounded like a velar L in the word Orlu at the beginning.
Can't hear it back on this exercise, but next time we get to it, let's listen for that. Sounds like Allah. The hestne. So it's really interesting to me, the hestne. If it was just the noun, the horses, it would be that one form, hestne. But when there's an adjective with it, we get a definite article out in front in the noun phrase. So the definiteness is marked in two places in this case. The first word there, well, not the very first word in the sentence. First word in it's not even that. Alle probably belongs to noun phrase too. All the pretty horses. The. Their child is very young. Deres barnet deres.
Barnet deres.
Child of theirs veldig.
Veldig.
Ungt. It gets a T because child is neuter. Neat. Okie doke. Let's hear some more about Egyptian language. Resources on ancient languages are sparse and uneven today. For a long time, the only Coptic grammar I'd seen some years ago in UCLA was in French for Catholic missionaries to Egypt. Now, one kind of thing that seems to be easily obtainable are reprints of older, even much older grammars. This British American Books has reprinted Henry Tatham's Coptic Grammar of 1830. Print is clear, it looks to be fairly complete, but it lacks a vocabulary list. Similarly, a reprint of MacDonald's Sketch of Coptic Grammar of 1856 is available from the same publisher, but its usefulness is compromised by its being a handwritten text. Wow. I have just obtained, however, a good modern grammar, although it is intended as a textbook more than a scientific description of the language. Introduction to Sahidic Coptic by Lambden. Although set up in Courier, which makes the whole thing look like typescript, the book has a clear Coptic typeface. Also has a glossary. For Egyptian itself, there are more reprints. Many books by Wallace Budge are available from Dover. Yeah, you see them all over. But they are grotesquely out of date, and perhaps had better be avoided. A generation or more of readers may be hopelessly confused by Budge's use of vowels. Better is Egyptian Hieroglyphic Grammar by S.A. Mercer. It's interesting. It was Mercer University Press for this one, and here Mercer's the author's name. Reprinted from 26 by Aries. Still without peer, and still in print is Gardner's Egyptian Grammar. A new grammar of similar quality with vocabulary is Hodge's Middle Egyptian Grammar. Although not entirely finished and provided only in spiral binding, it has now become available. However, my previous links to the publisher have gone offline. Alright, I'm going to skip ahead. Also just obtained a late Egyptian grammar produced posthumously from the materials of the great Egyptologist Yaroslav Czerny by Sara Israelit Groll, interesting name, and Christopher Eyre. This treatment looks grammatically thorough, exhaustive, and exhausting, but doesn't have a vocabulary. We now have an entirely new grammar. I think I'm going to skip the bibliographic part. There is a curious annoyance from which James Allen seems to suffer. Speaking of the terminology that is derived from the word hieroglyph, hieroglyphe, a word that as such does not seem to be attested in Greek, although glyph is just meaning carving. Allen says, each sign in this system is a hieroglyph, and the system as a whole is called hieroglyphic. Indeed, I do not see Gardner using the word hieroglyphics, but he does not make an issue of it. For myself, I do not see the harm or the point. If in Greek we would say ta hieroglyphica grammata, The hieroglyphic letters attest to usage. The word hieroglyphica is a neuter plural, which, just as pusika, is traditionally rendered as physics, or Athenae as Athens, Flandern as Flanders, could naturally be expressed as hieroglyphics. In fact, just what we see in common usage, and as I have previously done on this page. Alright, this is not too interesting to me either. Millennium there. If Alan knows his Greek, he may just be thinking of an expression like he hieroglyphike glossa, the hieroglyphic language. This would get us hieroglyphic for the whole system. But if that is what he meant, he should have explained it. A vast graphic type font set for Egyptian and the hieroglyphic text processing programs Glyph for Windows and Mac Scribe used to be available online. The following table presents and discusses the alphabetic hieroglyphic signs in the order of phonetic type used by scholars. A number of the sounds do not exist in languages like English, but still do exist in Arabic, which is distantly related to Egyptian. So Egyptians today can still vocalize sounds from the ancient language that otherwise would be unpronounceable in other modern languages. When I visited Egypt, Egyptian guides who could read hieroglyphics appeared to enjoy using the sounds that they could pronounce, but that many European tourists had never heard before. Terms for the sounds are those used in the Phonetic Symbol Guide by Pullman Ladislaw. The discussion of the glyphs is mainly based on Gardner. A recent technical discussion of Egyptian phonology and grammar may be found in Ancient Egyptian, A Linguistic Introduction by Loprieno. The use of numbers for some of the sounds below comes from the manuals of spoken Lebanese Arabic that I encountered when I arrived in Lebanon in '69. Otherwise, I have not seen this device used for Egyptian, despite its convenience, although now I see that sometimes Canadian First Nation languages use numbers for their sounds. Alright, where the symbol cannot be displayed, the browsers will show a little square containing the 4-digit hex code for the symbol. Note that audio files are large and with slow connection may take some time to load. I wonder when this page was written. Now, since this is what we're here for. Okay, it gives a very thorough description of each sign. Okay, 3 with the vulture. The picture of a vulture, this represents the sound of a glottal stop, which is a brief closing of the windpipe, like a little cough. It's the Hebrew aleph, Arabic hamza, or English Cockney pronunciation of T in bottle. A special symbol is used for this in transcription type fonts for Egyptian. ASCII text, I use the number 3. Loprieno points out that 3 corresponds to an R in Semitic languages, and so, for an uncertain period of Egyptian history, may have been some version of an R, a uvular trill, in Egyptian. Now, Hodge emphatically denies that 3 was ever a glottal stop, but gives no reference. This is good stuff. I really like this page. Alright, this next sign, the reed. Picture of a flowering reed was originally a Y palatal glide, and could still be written that way, or the German version, J. The special symbol often used for this sound is the letter I with an apostrophe instead of the dot. How this contrasts... Okay, maybe I should read everything here. Words beginning with Y, like the name of the god Ammon, simply begin with vowels in the evidence of vocalization that we have. How this contrasts with 3 is a good question. Hodge simply says that's what it can be. But some languages like Hawaiian make a real distinction between words or syllables beginning with a glottal stop and words or syllables beginning with vowels. We don't have enough evidence about ancient Egyptian to know if that was the case. In ASCII, it will be necessary to use Y, a question mark, or perhaps the number 7. The double Y. The Egyptians wrote the previous letter twice in certain contexts. Since this was usually at the end of a word, it has been argued that this is the same usage as in Hebrew or Arabic, yeah, and that it actually represents the vowel of the long E. It's hard to argue with this, where YY is usually written inside words, as in the demotic for Greek, ween, which clearly from Ionian. There is little doubt that a long E is meant. In transcription, YY is usually written Y in contrast to the I plus apostrophe. Ein or 9. The picture of a forearm. This represents a strongly guttural consonant, the Ein in Arabic. The throat contracts but does not close, a voiced pharyngeal fricative. Egyptians today have no trouble with this, but it is a sound that does not occur in Indo-European languages. Transcription type fonts, like Pride Open C. So he's going to use 9 for ein. W, the picture of a quail chick. This is simply a w labial glide. However, like y, the w has become very weak and sometimes disappears. While it is tempting and sometimes compelling to read it in some contexts as a vowel, as in the name of the builder of the Great Pyramid, Khufu, we usually don't have any evidence about that. W is written OU in Coptic, but this is because there is no w in Greek, and u can make do. When it is followed by a vowel, there is not much ambiguity. Thus, washab, answer in Egyptian is wosheb. Wosheb there in Coptic. Similarly, ta'awat, the one female for a goddess in Egyptian is, don't know enough Coptic. Well, that's a T probably. Next row, B, the picture of a foot. This is a B voiced by labial stop. B's in Egyptian often correspond to M's in Hebrew or Arabic. Thus, the root salem, salema in Arabic, or shulama in Hebrew, peace, to be healthy, etc., is seneb. Fascinating. In Egyptian, seneb. Wow.
Oh, this is quite thorough.
Yep.
This resource.
It sure is. N to L correspondence there, and B to M. Similarly, B's in such Semitic languages can turn up as M's in Egyptian. Ramanan for Lebanon. P, the picture of a stool. This is a P unvoiced by labial. Note that P doesn't exist in classical Arabic, which means that words from Coptic like pa, the turn up as ba in Arabic. F, picture of a horned viper. This is an F, voiceless labial non fricative. That's all he says there. M, picture of an owl. This is an M. N, picture of water, is an N. R, picture of a mouth. This is an R, a resonant whose varieties can no longer be determined for ancient Egyptian. Note that there is no L in Egyptian. Okay. Usually Egyptians just pronounced foreign L's as R's. When Greek names like Ptolemaios or Cleopatra were later transcribed, the biliteral sign RW was used for L. That's neat. Loprieno, page 31, however, advances the opinion that the contrast between R and L may not have been lost in all dialects of Egyptian, since independent L's emerge in Coptic and also seem to have been indicated by an NR grapheme in late Egyptian texts that reflect the spoken language. H, there's a picture.
They also added a lion at some point. For
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we saw L for lion. That makes sense. It would be a late thing if it was coming in from other languages. The late lion L. Picture of a reed shelter in fields. This is a simple H, voiceless glottal fricative. Reed shelter in fields. Ha. The picture of a wick of twisted flax. This represents another strongly guttural consonant, an H, which, like 9 above, occurs with a strong contraction of the throat, but without voicing. A voiceless pharyngeal fricative. This is the letter ha in Arabic, another sound that Egyptians today can still pronounce without difficulty. It is not the CH in Hanukkah. This sound presents special difficult for ASCII representation. He says the number 8 might be good. However, most fonts now support the Unicode symbol for the Arabic letter H with underdot. Now, H bowl or KH or Chi. This is a picture that may be a placenta because it is used to write placenta, but it's hard to see how it is pictographic. It represents the sound ch, which occurs in Hebrew and Arabic, and the German pronunciation of Nacht, or the Scottish loch, voiceless velar fricative. Greek letter chi can also be used for this. KH is an adequate transcription, though underlined to emphasize that it is a digraph. On the other hand, the Unicode symbol H bowl fits right in with traditional Egyptological usage. H underline, or CH. The picture of an animal's belly with teats. This represents a softer form of ch, voiceless palatal instead of a velar fricative, as in German ich, not German ish. Egyptians didn't always distinguish this from ch themselves. Ch could be used to transcribe it. Okay. Oh, so underlining for all palatal ones. Ch and ja also with underlining. If this weren't easily confused with TSH below. So CH or TSH. Basic HTML even allows us to duplicate the traditional Egyptological symbol H underline. Now Hodge says that this simply has an unknown value, but suggests it may have been like a Welsh sa. Sometimes written fla in English, as in Floyd for Lloyd. For Floyd. This is interesting since the Welsh fla had also been suggested as the original pronunciation of the Arabic bod, a sound anciently identified as unique to and within Arabic, making Arabs the sons of dad, sons of the bod, but now little different in articulation from several other Arabic phonemes. Sha, a picture of a piece of folded cloth. This is an S, voiceless alveolar fricative. In Old Egyptian, this was contrasted with Z, and is in that context transcribed with an acute mark on top. Thus it was written as an S with a sort of accent. Symbol we also see with Sanskrit, although not for the same value. In Middle Egyptian, however, both S and Z were used to write S's. Z, picture of a bolt. This was a Z in Old Egyptian, voiced alveolar fricative. Middle Egyptian, Z came to be used to write S's, so there was probably a devoicing of that sound. Just confusion of them. Sha, the picture of a pool. This was an esh, just like in English, Hebrew, and Arabic. Voiceless palatal alveolar. The traditional Egyptological symbol Sha is S with familiar and beloved Hachek from Czech. The Czech Hachek. Qa, picture of a hill slope. This was like the Qaf in classical Arabic, voiceless uvular stop. That is a K that is pronounced at the soft palate, the back of the mouth, rather than on the hard palate further forward as a K normally is. This is no longer pronounced different from a K in Hebrew, but most Arabs can pronounce it properly, even though there are dialect variations in spoken Arabic. Sometimes it is replaced by a glottal stop in Lebanon and Egypt itself, and in the Gulf it is voiced. A voiced uvular plosive, like a G pronounced on the soft palate, as it is in Persian, initial position only, which borrowed it from Arabic. Coptic it became a K, despite the easy availability and appropriateness of Q. The traditional Egyptological symbol is a K with an underdot. K, the picture of a basket with a handle. This is a regular K. G, the picture of a stand for a jar. This is G, pronounced as a stop, like in English gun, not like the palatal as in ginger. T, the picture of a loaf. This is a T. Cha, the picture of a tethering rope. This is a simple T in Coptic, and has turned into a T in many Egyptian words, Middle Egyptian words. It's thought to have been pronounced like the CH in English church. TSH would be a good transcription, but the traditional symbol is underlined T. D, picture of a hand. This is a D. J, picture of a snake. This has become a D or a T in Coptic, but it is thought to have been a J as in English jump. The traditional transcription is an underlined D. Sound can correspond to a Jim in Arabic. Thus, for the Arabic root melaja, to suck or suckle, we find menaj, breast in Old Egyptian. M, n. Okay, the doubly represented N again there. M, and J, and then a determiner. So this will be in the body parts list, don't you think? You still there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
What is body parts? It is D. Do we find this one? There's two to choose from, 27 and 28. This had already become simply Mened in Middle Egyptian. Since not everyone studying Egyptian or even reading it professionally wants to tangle with the problems of restoring its pronunciation, two convenient devices have been adopted, add ease where necessary. Thus, Kheper gets pronounced as Kheper, and NFR gets pronounced as Nefer. Since few non-Arabists have occasion to learn to pronounce 3 and 9, just pretend they are the vowel A. So R9, the sun or the sun god Re, gets pronounced Ra. In context, this is unobjectionable, but as people have gradually gotten the idea that R9 was really pronounced Ra, Alan Gardner's own warning might be repeated, but it must never be forgotten that the vocalizations thus provided are purely artificial makeshifts, and bear little or no relation, so far as the vowels are concerned, to the unknown original pronunciations as heard and spoken by the Egyptians themselves. This caution is never mentioned in public discourse, not even in documentaries about Egypt on cable television, a few of which are good, but most of which are terrible, even shameful. Viewers should be able to easily recognize the breathless gee whiz narration of the bad shows. It's a good way to put it. Gee whiz narration. It is annoying enough in its own right. Heartily agree. Alright, let's take a quick break. Let us Levi, can you recall the third singular active markers of the verb paradigm? Since we've mastered the noun endings, do you remember those first three? They start with a T. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, in Sanskrit. I can see that chart in my mind. But I don't know that I know the verbs as well as I know the nouns.
We haven't spent much time on it. Let's turn to that now. And so I'm just going to type soup ting to find that one video. There we go. So that's the end of the noun ones. Then over here on the left side of the player, can you read them? Parasmai padam means active endings. Atmane padam is the medial passive ones.
Yeah, I'm sure it will show up on my screen eventually.
Yes. Mere seconds away from appearing. Tingantah kriya subanto nama smartavyam, to be remembered. Ting on the left. You see it?
Okay, yeah.
Is it too small?
Yeah. No. You go left to right.
Yep.
Tip.
Tip.
Das.
Das. Oh, and this is a very rare letter. The third one. G.
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 Oh, that's not a ah. That's attached. So that's the JH one. Ja.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Voiced, murmured J. So the first row. Tip. Das. G.
Tip das G.
Tip das G. Let's hear it.
Tip das G.
He reads it pretty fast. Tip das G. Are you doing row 2? Please continue.
Okay, so we do the whole left half and then the right half? Is that how we do it?
Yeah, do the left. The first 9 on the left and the second 9 on the right. Yeah, those are kept separate. So what's below tip there, that next row?
Tip.
Yep.
And then what is that? Is that aspirated T?
It is indeed. Yes, exactly right. Sip, tus, ta. Exactly right. The P is indicatory, but the rest is phonic. Tus, ta. So T's for the third person, S and aspirate T for the second person. Tip, tus, G, sip, tus, ta. And the third row, Uttama Purusha, means first person.
Nip. Oh, what is that? Is it va?
It is.
Yeah. Vas. Mus.
Exactly. Mip was mus. Tip tas G, sip tas ta, mip was mus are our ending.
Okay, so the first column it keeps the singular, dual, plural pattern.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Always
so
triples.
I recognize the singular and plural ones from the other Indo-European languages.
Excellent. Yes, they've got cognates. The dual ones, of course, are rarer, but I suppose they're around. So let's relate these to actually occurring verb forms. Let's look at the very important verb bhavati. The root is bhu, and that's to be or become. And do you remember any of these? We mentioned them a week or so ago.
I'm assuming that it would not be just me.
Correct.
So
a little bit more is going on. That's right. Let's do them in the same order. So third person to start with. The first one is bhavati. Bhavati.
Okay.
What would be third person dual?
Third person dual. Bhavatas.
Bhavataha. Yeah, underlyingly ending in S, but in absolute final position, we replace S with visarga.
Bhavat.
Bhavataha.
Okay.
So very breathy sounding word. Bhavati, Bhavataha. And then G is a cover symbol. The way it's actually pronounced in the third plural is Bhavanti.
Bhavanti.
Bhavanti. And so I think these are somehow reflected in Hindi he and he. But that's the third singular, third plural. There's no dual, of course.
Oh yes, we have the nasality
Yes,
of the Bhavanti.
exactly right. That feature survives there, yeah. Okay, so on that model, I think we can construct the rest. What will be the second person forms?
Bhavasi.
Good.
Bhavataha.
Yes.
Bhavata.
Bhavataha, as you said, and then Bhavata. Exactly right. Now, there is a sutra somewhere, I don't know where, I haven't learned it yet, but in the first person ones, note that mip, was, mus, for all three, the first sound is voiced. And what we do there is we lengthen the final of the stem. So it'll be bhavami. Not bhavami, but bhavami. Right.
Bhavavas. Bhavamas.
Close. Remember to substitute that coda S. We aspirate it.
Oh. Maha.
Bhavavaha.
Bhavavaha.
Good.
That happens to all coda S's everywhere throughout the language?
In an actually occurring word form, yes, it does. Yeah.
Okay. Unless the next word starts with an S.
You could get it option. Yeah, before initial S, it's optional. It can be either visarga or coda S, but it'll stay S only before T and TH. And so the first person plural, bhavamaha.
Bhavamaha.
So the whole paradigm in this order: bhavati, bhavataha, bhavanti. Second person, bhavasi, bhavataha, bhavata. Yeah, takes some getting used to. Bhavami, bhavavaha,
Bhavami. Bhavava.
and bhavamaha.
Bhavamaha.
Good.
Oh, so that means we say the root is bhu.
Yep.
But it looks like the stem that you actually attach the suffixes to is bhava.
Yes, exactly. Good. And that breaks down further into bhav and that has two parts, two morphemes.
So and the is our theme vowel?
Yes, the thematic vowel. Paanini's label, his name for this marker, for this suffix, is shep. And the P says, as in tip, sip, mip, P tells you never accent this morpheme. And the sh, I forget what it does actually. It probably does many things. Yeah, but we'll just leave it there. I'll tell you what the P does in this case. So, what grade is that BHAV? How could that be respelled? Is not a permissible ending sequence in Sanskrit. We have it before a vowel, but this is a derived form. The basic form of the root is bhu, and this bhav can be rewritten or is equivalent to bho. And what do we call that? From bhu we derive bho.
Oh, that is guna.
Exactly right. We get guna. That is the default whenever a suffix is added to a thing. So we add bhu and shep together. That means we're going to replace the vowel u with its guna equivalent. So bho shep, and then a person marker gets added.
Then why is it not bho? Why do we get bhav instead?
Because a vowel follows. You can't get sequences of vowels are not really permitted. You can get them if a consonant deletes, right? We've seen it in a couple of sutras here and there, but generally Sanskrit avoids sequences of vowels called hiatus. It wants to merge them wherever possible. Remember Maheshwara? What that's a fusion of?
Maha.
Wait.
Maha.
Yeah. This one has I think, vruddhi of the first syllable, but we'll ignore that. It's basically Maha for the first component. And the second is Ishwara with long E. So they meet in the middle. A and E, when they meet, we'll give A. Maheshwara.
I see, that makes sense. And they also get short, right? Maha and Ishwara both have long, but when they come into contact, it's short.
Well, remember that guna is underlyingly a diphthong, and it's always long. It's not the same quantity as a short vowel I, U, U. Because of its composite nature, A and O they're metrically always long. So remember these equations. I and A, the very same thing. It just depends on the sound that follows. If it's word final or you got a consonant, it's going to be A. If a vowel follows, it'll be I. And this of is in Bahabati is always equivalent to O, one and the same.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is Bhu. This root belongs to class 1. There are 10 verb classes first for verb inflection. Another root that means be is, of course, us. This belongs to class 2, and it goes like this. Asti, staha, santi. He is, they two are, plural they are. So us, you have the root in its basic form. Then you get a 0 grade in the root in the non-singular forms. And that's why it's est in Latin versus sunt. You have the same gradation of the root. This one is class 2. Class 1 adds an called shup by Panini to the root to derive the stem. Class 2 does not add that theme vowel, and you get gradation most of the time.
Is it the same gradation for everything in this class, or is it?
There's one or two exceptions. The one that labels the class is the root ud, meaning eat. This one is exceptional in not showing gradation. It's atti, he eats. Attaha, they too eat. Adanti. And so it's not right. Atti, if it graded the same way, it would be in the dual this form, which is unpronounceable. Taha. It keeps its vowel. You could have a form danti. Sorry? You there?
Does it keep its vowel because that would make it unpronounceable?
That's probably has something to do with it. Yeah. So it would be perfectly possible to begin a Korean syllable that way, but Sanskrit doesn't let you start with a long T. Dunti would be pronounceable, but this root is exceptional. It keeps the vowel for all forms of this paradigm. And Panini derives this class from the shep. There's a rule that says delete shep. Replace it with luk, which means deletion of a root. He's got 3 zeros that he uses. Luk, shlu, and lup, and they have different effects on the words they occur in.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's a really fun grammatical system that he's devised. Okay, let's hear the recitation of these.
Siptastha.
Get the noun.
Soaujas, autshas, tabhyambhis, ngebhyambhis, ngasibhyambhis, ngasosam, ngiusup. Soaujas, autshas, tabhyambhis, ngebhyambhis, ngasibhyambhis, ngasosam, ngiusup.
All one breath. Pretty cool.
Siptastha, mitwasmas.
So let's try to memorize those in the coming days. And let's hear a little bit of the sutras themselves, shan't we?
Iti maheshwarani sutrani. प्रथमोऽध्यायः प्रथमः
प्रथमः
पादः
पादः
वृद्धिरादैच्
वृद्धिरादैच्
अदेङ्गुणः
इको
गुणवृद्धि
गुणवृद्धि
न धातुलोप आर्धधातुके इति च दीधिवेवीटा हलोऽनन्तराः संयोगः मुखनासिका वचनोऽनुनासिकः तुल्यास्य प्रयत्नं सवर्णं नाच्छलौ ईदूदेद्विवचनं प्रगृह्यम् अदसोमात् शे निपात एकाजनान् ओत् सम्बुद्धौ शाकल्यस्येतावनार्षे ऊयः ऊं ईदूतौ च सप्तम्यर्थे दाधाघ्वदाप् आद्यन्तपदेकस्मिन् तरप्तमपौघः बहुगणवतुडति संख्या श्नान्ताषट् डति च तत्तवतु निष्ठा सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि.
It's kind of unfortunate that he or she is scrolling the way they are because the sutra goes off the screen as we need it. But today, let's just do one. The last one we talked about was kta ktabatu nishtha, which means the morphemes kta for the participial and ktabatu, meaning having done verb, are called nishtha. It's just an arbitrary label for those two affixes. Today's sutra, sarvadini sarvanamani. Let me spell it out, and if you can transliterate, please.
Okay, I'm waiting to see it in the chat here.
Yeah, coming up. Sarvadini sarvanamani. Sarvadini sarvanamani.
This one, number 27.
Yes, 127. Sarvadini sarvanamani.
Okay, let's see what I got. The screen looks like an R. D.
Excuse me.
Oh wow! If you have long I and short I next to each other, they kind of are adjacent.
They look nice, yes.
Nice. Oh, I think this is the word savarna that ended that other savarna.
It's got the same letters but a different order. So, yeah, savarna. Varna means color. Sa meaning same. Same color means homoorganic. But this is sarvadini. Sarvadini.
Wait a minute.
It looks a little out of order. Sarva. It's helpful, I think, to break.
How is the R on that first?
Right, because
syllable?
Right really by syllables. So sa is the first one. Then whenever you get to the next consonant, that the writing system treats as a new syllable, and this cannot then be further subdivided. This is rwa, R-V-A-A. It looks a little bit out of order, but we're thinking of it as reading top to bottom. And
the first syllable is sa.
Sa.
Right? The S.
Sort of, it's not really a syllable. We would regard the R as closing the first syllable, but the writing system does not regard it that way. The syllable, so to speak, I don't know a better name for it, but the unit, the syllabic type unit in the writing system is consonant, 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 whatever, ending in a vowel.
Okay. This is my guess at the romanization, but since I don't understand the properties of the R, it's probably wrong.
All right, we shall learn it now. The first word here, sarvadini, is like that. Even though the R on top, the R hook, is to the right of the V, it goes before it in the sound.
Oh.
There is no S.
An R hook is really the ligature of R and then Right, so R plus V is
Yes.
V and then the R hook.
Yeah. In terms of what do I call them? Abjad syllables or something, it's like this. Sarwa di ni. As I have broken in the.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the sutra now
Is that the
broken
case
onto.
anytime we see a R hook, it goes before the
Yes,
consonant?
exactly.
Okay.
That's the only time it'll be written with that hook shape above the line, is if it's in a sanyoga, in a cluster. Okay, and then so with that in mind, can you redo the second word of the sutra? Sarvanamani. I found this a bit troublesome too when I first started learning Devanagari, but you get used to it.
Yeah, the way you romanized it out by syllable, sa, rwa,
Yeah.
di, ni, helps make sense
Good.
of it.
Yeah.
If you think of it like that.
And in fact, if you go into this text box and try to break it down into syllables, you can't break down that RVAA anymore once it's written out. They stay there.
I see.
Yeah. Oh, no, you can. Look at that. Here I get a refa. That's the only letter that has a special name is R. It's called refa. There it's just shown in the absolute form. I'm going to delete, and it jumps to the top bar there. Sarvadini. Sarvanamani is correct. Yeah. Okay, so sarva is maybe a little tricky to recognize, but it's related to Greek holos, which means all. Oh, well, thank you, Neo-Socratic. I do what I can.
Oh.
So can you triangulate?
Holos.
That's in Holocaust, hologram. What else is there?
I know
Holistic.
it in I know a song in ancient Greek that has this.
You know a song in what?
In ancient Greek that has this holos word.
How did you learn an ancient Greek song?
I don't remember. But
Well, that's
I'll
cool.
find it and send it to you.
I would appreciate it. So can you triangulate backward from this equation? Holos and sarvaha. The S's, of course.
We saw the R and the L matching before, like in our wolf word, for example.
Good.
Lurka it was, but it had an L in Greek.
Very true. Yeah, so we're not troubled by LR. That happens a lot in Indic.
And of course, Greek is very famous for doing H where everyone else has the S.
Good.
So the V must be, the V is either gone in the Greek or
It is
to do with the rounding of the O.
That's a good instinct. No, it's the first option. The W disappeared. There was, in archaic Greek, a letter shaped like an F called digamma, and that represented W, and it dropped out of use as the sound disappeared. So, what might you, maybe a little tricky, but what kind of etymon would you reconstruct? What would be the ancestral form for these two?
Oh, I don't know whether the R or the L, which was original.
Okay, I will tell you that it was L. L is original. The conflation happens...
Huh? As the root?
A little more than that. It's a two-syllable stem. I don't know if that has a single-syllable verb root underlying it. This one is a pronominal.
Solo.
I think... What about the V then? Where does that come from? Or how did you say it? How would you spell it, maybe?
Solvo.
I would do it like this. Solvo.
Oh, solvo. Okay.
Solvo. Greek is very faithful in the vowel qualities. Sanskrit simplified the 5-vowel system down to 3. A, I, U. The Greek preserves it as a 7-vowel system. So that's the first component in this sutra. It occurs twice. Adi. We may have seen Adyantavade Kasmin. We had one sutra. Do you remember Adi?
No.
It is the opposite of... That's fine. It's all about reviewing, and we'll build up vocabulary as we go. It's the opposite of anta. Anta, we have the English cognate end. Adi means
And Sad is the beginning.
the beginning. That's right. Sarvadi.
Do we have an English cognate for this one?
For Adi? Not that I know of. I think it's actually...
Or in another...
Adi. Good
IE
question. That's a good question for Wikipedia. Let us pose it. Since we've got the sutra, well, we've got that part of the sutra. Adi. I believe it is compound. A is a prefix, and di can represent the verb da, to give, or some other da verb. But let's look up on Wiktionary what we find. Sanskrit. The beginning, commencement. It doesn't give etymology of it. But it shows some descendants. Nothing beyond that. But I'll do some checking, see if I can find any cognates of that outside of Indic.
Oh, thank you.
So this first word, sarva adini, the stem would be, I'm going to use equal sign for the boundary when it fuses, sarva and adi. It's a bahuvrihi, it means those having sarva as their beginning. So it's an ordered list of words in a sort of appendix to the grammar. Right? We've got roots.
What was the meaning of sarva?
Sarva, all.
All. Oh, and that's the same as the Greek holos.
Holo, yeah, complete. So what this sutra tells us is that the set of items beginning with sarva are called pronouns. That's what sarvanama means. A sarvanama is an all name. Nama, you'll recognize. A name for everyone.
The Japanese, nama.
Exactly right. So this sutra is just defining pronouns in terms of an ordered list. The ones beginning with sarva. In the quarter, in the pada 1-3, we will learn that bhuvadayo dhatavaha, the elements beginning with bhu, as in bhavati, are called verbal roots. And here sarvanamani, sarvadini, sarvanamani. We see the neuter plural endings. Ini, if you have an I stem for nominative plural neuter, and ani for an stem is nominative plural neuter.
Can you say that again?
About the endings?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I see them.
You see them written? So we have stems. We learned the deva paradigm. That's an stem masculine. Nama is also an stem. We just classify stems by their last sound or group of sounds. But this one's neuter. Nama is neuter in Sanskrit, I think. I want to double check that. This term is neuter. We can tell from the ending. Nama on its own, though. German, it's der Name, but in Greek and Latin, nomen, onoma are neuter nouns. I think the Sanskrit will be neuter too. Yeah, a neuter noun. Naman, the stem really ends in an N, but that's dropped. Sanskrit dislikes ending words in N. It's generally avoided.
Does this behave the same as our deva ones or differently?
Great question. From the third case onward, so instrumental and below, they look exactly alike. The differences are in the nominative and accusative. So let's look at nama real quick. It goes nama, name, dual, namani. If I'm not mistaken. It's been many years since I studied these. We've got a nice table here. Oh, look at that. It says namam or nama. I didn't realize those were variants. Namani. Oh, this is not, that's not Sanskrit. No wonder that doesn't. This one? Oh, it's going to list it.
Namani is the plural.
Yes.
And it's similar to the plural of sutra being sutrani.
Sutrani, exactly right.
Retroflexes because the presence of the R.
My dual form was incorrect. The dual form will be namni or namani. Nam, optional, schwa, ni, long vowel. That's the dual.
Okay.
Namni, namani. Nama,
Okay.
namani.
And that's for nominative or
Accusative, yeah. In a neuter, in all
And-
Indo-European languages, nominative and accusative match in neuter gender.
okay.
So over here, maybe it's a little hard to read, but in my Wiktionary screen, we've got the full paradigm. Nama, namni, namani for the first three cases here. Then instrumental, nam, na, namabhyam, namabhi, namni, namabhyam, namabhyah, namnaha, ablative, namabhyam, namabhyah. Genitive, namnaha, namnoho, nam, which is nice. Same syllable twice. Locative is namni, namnoho, namasu. So from the instrumental on down, it inflects just like any masculine would, except for, well, this one is an end stem actually. Oh my goodness. That's causing confusion. Deva is an stem. I'm spouting nonsense here. Nama, the underlying form is naman, so we shouldn't conflate these. I'm sorry. That is
Okay. How many different classes of nouns are there?
It's a great
That behave
question.
in certain
I'm
ways?
going to say about a dozen or so. I don't really know.
Okay.
Something like that, though. It's not 2,000 and it's not 1 in between those orders. Okay, I think let's listen back for the last few sutra just to get a little bit of repetition and then call it a night because it's getting late. Sound good?
Okay.
Alright.
Take it in.
ईदूतौ च सप्तम्यर्थे दाथाघ्वदा आद्यन्तपदेकस्मिन् तरप्तमपौघः बहुगणवतुडति संख्या श्नान्ता षट् डति च तत्तवतु निष्ठा सर्वादीनि सर्वनामानि विभाषादिक्समासे बहुव्रीहौ.
In the next sutra, we'll hear for the first time bahuvrihi, the technical term. Well, how would you feel about
I've heard it lots already.
Yes, you have. I never shut up about them. How would you feel about a little lesson of Chinese now, actually? Any objection?
I guess not. Yeah, it's getting late, but why not? Yeah, let's
I
do
won't.
some Chinese.
I won't keep you. If you'd prefer to go.
No, I'm down.
Alrighty, good. Let's do that and then call it. Alright. So, this Hieroglyphs Dictionary. How does one get here from the Lexilogos main page?
Which, the French one?
It's coming up. No, it's the sort of link roundup on Lexilogos. Ancien Egyptian Dictionary.
Oh.
They left out the T.
Okay. If you go to Lexilogos, you want to get to the list of everything.
Yeah.
Lexilogos.
Language dictionaries. Egyptian Ancient. I see. Yep. Cool. All right.
Or I go to what's new.
Oh, yeah.
And then find that. Click on the hieroglyphic one.
Very good. Okay, let's do some Chinese.
And it lists all the. Okay. Modern or ancient?
Chinese?
Yeah.
Well, Duolingo only offers
I
modern.
guess only modern.
Yeah.
Yao.
Yep.
I will say. Would you mind if I logged off on the audio and just listened to the audio of the stream so that I'd be lined up in my hearing?
Yeah, sounds good.
And responded to you via chat.
I'll try to keep an eye on it. It sounds good to me.
Good night, everyone, with my voice. I'll be here to learn Chinese in the chat.
Very good. Have a good night.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
From my voice to your voice.
Okay.
This Yao. Yao is medicine.
Gan.
Gan. To feel, sense. Yao.
Yao. Ding.
Ding. To settle, to be certain or fixed.
Mao.
Mao means something like cover. Mao.
帽、流、
流 Medicine is 药。
药、
赶
赶，你会留在这里吗？
你会留在这里吗？ Stay here. So we see 会 can be used for ability. Can you stay here?
留、
Or just a future auxiliary. Will you stay?
你一定要回家休息一下。
你一定要回家休息一下。A lot of verbs here.
休
休息 to rest. 一下 one time. 回家 return home. 要 will or want, and 一定 means for sure. You must go home and rest for a bit. 以下 means one downward, so it means like one time for a verbal action. Rest a little, go rest a bit. 留 is to stay in place.
留、
我感冒了。
我感冒了 I have a cold. I've caught a cold. 感冒了定
定、
留
留、
冒
冒、
赶定
定、
要
要。我的姐姐不要留在家里。
To think about it twice with the first one in white. Interesting. So we would of course enter it as ABU. Abu. And you might recognize it from LBABU, the hat. 帽子. Oh, I see what you're saying about negative space. Yeah, it's got two black lines on top inside the enclosure or three. Yeah, very well. 我的姐姐不要留在家里。
我的姐姐不要留在家里。
不要留在家里。So we can regard this also as sequences of verb phrases. 在家里 to be inside the house. 留 means to stay there. 不要 she does not want to or will not. My older sister, oh my god, does not want to. Here要, the meaning of want, can also just be future marker. Does not want to stay at home. 留在 stay in a place. 留
冒
赶
定
要
现在我的头很疼，一定是感冒了。
现在我的头很疼，一定是感冒了。Word order is quite unlike English rather. Now, my head is very painful. 一定 certainly is catch cold complete. My head hurts. I have a headache. I must have caught a cold. It must be a cold, I guess. We have to reorder it somewhat to get a good English sentence. I have a headache now. I forgot 现在。
你一定要帮我。
你一定要 ONF 你一定 that's going to be MJMYO. Of course. Not cooperating. Let me write it by hand. 你一定 J Ruth M Y O 定要
你一定要帮我。
帮我 病药 is MW. Above V, the woman. Yao. Bang, let's see, is simplified with 3 strokes and a descender and schwanger and the cloth below. Bang Wa H Q I. 你一定要帮我 You must help me.
你一定要帮我。我一天需要吃3次药。
我一天需要吃3次药 One of these days we will have to learn four corner. Yeah, I suppose so. Since we know handwriting 仓颉 and pinyin, it does remain out there to be learned by us. There's a nice poem for it too, so that's kind of cool. For remembering the 9 basic values. So this is kind of interesting structure. I, one day, must eat 3次 3 times medicine. I must take medicine 3 times a day.
现在我的头很疼，一定是感冒了。
I have headache now. Have a headache now. It must be a cold. 好，谢谢你们看看。我们下次再见。Good night, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.